Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. We are live, and we're back at it again, folks. It's time for the Dirt Sheet debate here at the Wrestling for Life Network. It's going to be a fun one tonight. We're going to dive into so much: suspensions, hirings, firings, new companies, old companies, and a whole bunch in between, including pay-per-views and bad ratings. But it's going to be a fun one, and we got a special guest here on the channel tonight. So, folks, strap in, strap on, grab your snacks, grab your feel good. Let's go. Let's debate. Ding, ding, ding. We are live and back at it again, folks. Like I said, we are the Wrestling for Life Network. This is the Dirt Sheet debate, and I would like to, before we do anything else, say welcome, welcome, welcome to Mr. Nick number 2, the Geek Box, everyone's second favorite box on the planet. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic, man. Thanks for having me on. So for coming in. Obviously, thanks for the guys that are tuning in and watching this as well. Obviously, that have watched my videos as well, because obviously you guys have been a massive help for getting people across to watching my stuff as well. So, best channel, best audience. You guys have the best catchphrases that catch it as well. So, yeah, I'm pretty awesome. Far I should have a 1 in the morning for my time of the day.
Yeah, well, it's late for you, but thank you, thank you, thank you. I am Mr. Everynight KJ White, the Iron Man of YouTube. That is the chapeau that used to run the show, apparently. And that's Big Nick.
I'm going to try and do something with this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Wrestling for Life Network proudly brings to you its fatal 4-way master debaters. KJ White, the Evernight Delight, the other Nick, Geek Bucks, the chapeau that formerly ran the show, Ringsider Anthony, and I'm Big Nick, and I'm amazed I haven't gotten thrown off the show already.
Not yet. We're working on it. Every comment's one step closer.
Right?
No, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being back to the channel. Hope everyone out there is happy, healthy, and safe. We see that chat filling up already. And so get in there, make your comments. You let us know what you want us to talk about as well. We're going to pull through some of the Dirt Sheet headlines and kind of work through. It's been an insane week in wrestling, so we got a lot to uncover. We haven't all been on screen all week, at once. So there's going to be a good chance to start with all the ongoings in wrestling, which never seems like a dull moment at this point. I will ask you guys, do you want to start with what happened like early, like late, like weekend, SummerSlam forward, or do we want to work backwards from last night?
We can start from oldest to newest, first in, first out.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right, there you go. Consensus rules. But welcome, people, and happy Friday, Junior, to everybody. Weekend is upon us, so we're looking forward to tomorrow. Okay, if we're starting early again, so not mixed reviews, really positive reviews for SummerSlam. A lot happened, a lot went down, though some of the people out there want to find reasons not to like it. I think it's fair to agree that SummerSlam was overall a success.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, big time. But the thing that stood out for me, actually, was it felt like an old school SummerSlam. Lots of belts on the line, lots of action put in, storyline to set us up for the next 3-4 months. It's exactly how they used to always do SummerSlam. So now you're excited for everything that's going to take us through the majority of the year now, because they've put it all in place for us.
Yeah, I felt like SummerSlam was a mid-year reset. Like, a mid, and when I mean mid-year WrestleMania to WrestleMania, so I felt like SummerSlam was the mid-year reset heading to WrestleMania 41. Significant title changes. I called almost every title change that happened. Someone on TikTok didn't like that I wanted almost every title to change, and they did. But I think SummerSlam as a whole, as I've been saying over the past couple of weeks, SummerSlam was a movie over the past couple of days, I should say. SummerSlam was a movie from beginning to end. It was an entire movie. And I think it had great moments. It got a lot of people talking. One person that it got talking was my boss, who actually messaged me Monday and was like, my friends were talking about SummerSlam. You must have had a great weekend, because if my friends were talking about it, I know you loved SummerSlam. So yeah, SummerSlam was a whole movie.
Well, you said it right there. If you even have wrestling fans who don't watch wrestling are excited and talking about wrestling and talking about SummerSlam, then absolutely, it's a smashing success. It was, like Anthony was saying, it's a bit of a reset of, you had a lot of endings of stories. Like you had the ending of, I can't even say it's really the ending of a chapter, I'll say, in the Rhea and Liv story with Dom. You've kind of got a chapter going on now with Cody, with Roman showing up and everything, and then you kind of ended Priest's run with the title. So a lot of, following up on stuff, but also starting anew on stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think you make your major pay-per-views count, and I think they made it count. 4 major changes, 4 title changes, not major changes, but they did a lot. I mean, even if you think going back to the night before, we changed tag titles with purpose. But again, I think overall they delivered. We were highly entertained. I guess the argument from the naysayers ends up being it was an angle-heavy pay-per-view. It wasn't, it wasn't a 5-star blaze, man. Like, I don't know what to do. So, I mean, again, those are those critics, and I'll let you guys kind of dive into that. But how do you feel about the Meltzers of the world who are like, it was good, but
I guess I'll start here because I feel like the reason why a lot of the fans are not giving SummerSlam the credit that it's due is because of one woman, and it's one woman only, and that's Nia Jax. I think the Nia Jax hate since Saturday has been astronomical. I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on TikTok, going back towards her weight, and it's like, I don't understand. I really don't understand. This woman has came back to WWE, rehired by Triple H, and has taken the women's division by storm. I think fans have a hard time of letting go of the past, and it seems like when it comes to Nia Jax, it's like Nia Jax stole their lunch money or something, and they can't let it go because it's ridiculous. It's the same old. She injures people. She does this. She does that. Has she injured anybody since she came back? No, she has not. She's had storyline injuries with Rhea Ripley and some other wrestlers, but no, physically injuring somebody, she has not. Even in her previous run, she's have even mentioned that there's a couple of times where like she has legitimately injured anyone, but the wrestlers that got injured by Nia Jax were not upset. And it's like the fans are taking it personal, and I don't understand it. That's my rant for the day. But I feel like a lot of the hate coming from SummerSlam is directed towards Nia Jax.
I'm going to jump on the top act there. Everything you just said, mate, I absolutely agree with 110%. I've had this argument, like my missus tell you, I've been going over when people were slating Nia when she first came back. If I had hair, I'd have been pulling on it. I was raging at that fact because it was like she took herself out of the wrestling. But she knew that she was working well, but there was things she needed to refine. She went to the Dudley Boys school, asked them to work with her. She spent ages sorting herself out. And as they've clearly said as well, she didn't go and get help from a family or anything, which she could have gone to any of them and said, oh, can you bail me out because I'm getting a bad rep? And she worked on everything from her character, her styling. And obviously one of the big things that Devon gave her was the fact that she loved Yokozuna's work and had pushed to her, you're perfect for that style. They worked with her, and then she came back and got asked to be put back into developmental before she went back onto the main roster. The fact that she acknowledged it and came back, and people are still throwing all this. And I think now it's the women's division has finally got an actual stone cold destroyer that you can say anyone who steps in the ring with her, Nia can just like rip them. And like you said, a lot of the stuff I've seen from SummerSlam has come off the back of Nia winning the title.
Well, I mean, again, if you're Nia Jax, sorry to interrupt there, but if you're Nia Jax, you're thrilled with all you're seeing. I think you just lagged a little bit, so I thought you were done, but not. There you go. But if you're Nia, you're thrilled with all the heat that you're seeing. Now, again, it gets a little personal, and some people who have never, been near a woman have an opinion about a woman. It always blows my mind. But I know they're saving themselves for Scarlett Johansson. They just haven't met her yet.
Okay.
But Nia's killing it. I mean, you got to give her credit, Nick. That was
Oh, absolutely. She's 100%, reestablished herself. And like both of those gentlemen beneath me had said, she's absolutely set herself up to be the dominant force. Like there was even the potential of setting up a Rhea versus Nia match. And that would have been someone who could have actually stood toe to toe physicality wise with Rhea, because that's pretty much lost in that division with Raquel Rodriguez being hurt with her skin condition, everything like that. And there's really not anyone else besides Rhea and Nia.
Yeah, 100%. I think like who beats her? Like Tiffany having that Money in the Bank is just the only saving grace, because realistically on paper, who beats Nia Jax straight up, unless it is a Raquel or a Rhea or somebody that can handle how Nia's been. And Nia's not been the girl that we all saw the clips. We all know the clip, the my hole going around forever and ever. She's not that girl at this point. She has been booked and billed as an absolute beast and hasn't missed a step. I think that's still one of my favorite finishes of this year is when she pancaked Bird Lady, knocked the first shit right out of her.
Yeah, I just think I think the IWC just doesn't believe that people can evolve, and it's crazy.
They can't. So if they can't do it, no one can.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, that I think as well that match that she had against Ica as well really highlighted how much she checked it. That whole match, she didn't miss a single step, and she was practically strolling around the ring at one point, showing that she doesn't have to run around after you because she's a giant. She can literally wait for you to come into her path and then just put you flat. And I think her psychology game from when she went and coming back in and being trained by when she comes to Triple H's group of Matt Bloom as well. It came in the training they gave when she came back in as well. She's just she now understands the psychology of what she's got to do. And I literally, her match at SummerSlam was one of my favorite matches of the whole night, because you were just there, just waiting. Bayley was building up and up and up, and you're just waiting for her. She's just going to cut her off. And when she does, it's not just going to be a clothesline that slows the match down. She's going to absolutely wallop her flat. So even when she was building up and then she went for the Rose Plant, I was there like, I'm just waiting for it. She ain't going to get that Rose Plant. Nia's going to pick her up and just put her flat. But that whole ending as well, to me, it sold what she understands. She went from just doing one move to stop her to I'm fed up now, powerbomb, release powerbomb, dragged her in the corner. And to me, drop on her twice in the corner was just the sweetest. It was the literal, I'm going to drop you, I'm going to make you pay. Because like the second one just wasn't necessary. But now, Fia, she's the queen of the ring and she's the champion. Now, Fia Nia Jax. She's now, anyone who fights her now is the underdog that's got to go up against like the mass that she is. And now there's your story for the next few months.
Well, when do we get Tiffy time?
That's the only saving grace, I think, right? Because I think you put her in there eventually with a baby face that gives her a run, but it's going to ultimately be Tiffany, because there's going to have to be some type of malarkey to get that belt away from her. You're not going to beat her straight up unless it's a fluke or a statement match, and I don't see either of them on the docket anytime soon.
I feel like the way that Tiffany may cash in is that Nia Jax is in a high profile match. I'm just going to use Charlotte Flair as an example. And she beat Charlotte Flair, but she beat Charlotte Flair like by the skin of her teeth. And she's just out of it, like at the end of the match after retaining her championship. And then Tiffany Stratton runs out, cashes in at that moment, hits her big move, hits her big moonsault if she can, gets her down, and then 1, 2, 3. That's kind of how I see it happening, because no one right now is big enough or strong enough to really take that title away from Nia Jax.
Jordan Grace later in the year.
Yeah. Okay. That might be a one right there.
later in the year.
Yeah, I see. I also feel like as well, during like the old Daniel Bryan and the Big Show cash in, where he got beaten down, and like I said, he rushed down, pinned him, and even like a split second after he got the pin, Show still through. So it's either she turns on Nia for that opportunity, or the other side I see is Nia's going to lose for whatever reason in her match. Tiffy comes down and pins the one that's just run 2 moments later, and Nia's going to be peeved at the fact I just lost the title. You jumped on it straight away.
Yeah.
And then the jealousy game just takes over then.
Absolutely. Was the CM Punk Drew McIntyre match disappointing in any way or underwhelming in any way?
Hell no for me. Loved it to perfection.
Was it a match or was it an angle?
It was a match. It was
I know it was declared a match, but it was very heavy. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It was very towards the angle and everything like that. And it's setting up. That was not the first time. It was not the last. It's not. Well, it was the first time. It's not the last time that we're going to see those two go at it. So I think this very much was just used as progressing stuff forward. I don't think it was the best match that these two guys will have. And I think Seth's involvement progresses story with that down the road. I think this was launching this still further down the road. This was helping kick the can down the road with this storyline.
I personally did not like it. I did not like that match at all. I think it was I'm sorry to CM Punk, but Drew McIntyre carried that match. CM Punk looked gassed very, very quickly. And I shouldn't be talking about somebody looking gassed, but it didn't flow the way I thought it was going to flow. I honestly feel like it was the weakest match on the card. I'm hoping that in the future it works out a little bit better for CM Punk. The track record over the past couple of years with his body, it's not giving what it's supposed to give, I feel like. I do believe the match, like it was angle heavy. Obviously, it was geared towards a bracelet. But yeah, I feel like it was just kind of the weakest match on the card for me. I didn't even really pay attention to it that much, and that's kind of saying a lot because I was really looking forward to it.
I can feel that in a way. Like I said, I love the match because I love story heavy matches. But with what Anthony's saying at the same time, there are parts where you could see that Drew was dragging Punk into position to get. I think if I had to give any knock on that match outside of the physicality of it, towards the end, it started feeling a little bit silly. The obsession with the bracelet, it was like just use the Anaconda Vice and take him out, or just nail him and grab the fact that Punk's a seasoned veteran and was running around like a child that's had his bracelet stolen instead of just going, I'm going to beat him and get it back at the end.
Yeah,
that bit made it a bit like, I know you're telling a story, which I love that aspect, but at the same time, they could have done, even if Punk won, they could have finished it. He gets the bracelet back. He's like, yeah, look at me. And then either Seth drops Punk and Drew takes the bracelet off him, or he turns around and gets Claymored after the match is finished and Drew just picks the bracelet up and is like, and then we've got the same story that we had following on to roll back to square one.
Go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say, but is it an issue that it's now devolved into a bracelet when I think part of what let me finish. You let me start, so let me finish. Of that part of this is that I think going into this, we wanted them to go hell for leather at each other. This should have been a blood feud upon blood feud of wanted to just tear each other limb from limb, and it's kind of been more focused on a bracelet. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, again, I don't think the symbolism of the bracelet, I get it, and what I said the night of, going full circle, just being a mental distraction. Drew got distracted, lost the title. Now Punk's getting distracted. I get it. I understand where people kind of break it down to like, it's just a bracelet. And you're like, yeah, like he didn't steal your wife. Like it's not AJ in his hands, like he's King Kong. So I get that to an extent. Now, there is no separation between it's an angle or a match. A match is a match is a match. No matter what happens within the confines of that match, it's still a match. Like this idea online with the IWC of like, it wasn't really a match. It was an angle. No, those things are like, those go together. You can't have them exclusive. It's no different than any other sport. You get different vibes and feels to it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't, again, the most physically demanding match. I did think Punk gassed out. But I thought overall, thanks to everybody involved and what they are telling, I think they did really well. And I know people are really used to like, all right, the first match, we're going to go through chairs and tables and do no DQ and do death match. And then, we'll figure it out. No, they're starting a progression here, and it's going to amplify.
Well, I think you've even said before of the parallel between, Drew, CM Punk cost Drew the title because he took the eye off this ball and, screwed him over. Now, Punk took his eye off the ball because of the bracelet, what have you, and he got screwed over all of that. It's one of those, you don't have a championship for, at stake for this. So you've got to have something that's going to, lead to Punk taking his eye off the ball.
Yeah. I hope Punk gets better.
You said that like he's fucking ill or something.
Well, he has been. We only seen him once, but he didn't get injured. That's the positive.
That's good.
But I will say the one thing I really do want to see in there when they go to their next match is if they're going to have this bracelet thing is I want halfway to the match or something for Drew to pick up the bracelet and just rip it in half and just chuck it. So Punk could just go mental at him, then they kind of full on brawl.
I thought that's what was going to happen at the end. I thought Drew was just going to shred it and we move on.
Yeah, it just seems like a logical step, doesn't it? If he absolutely just rips it to pieces, then now Punk's got the reason not to be distracted and to just be on the warpath to try and kill him, even to the point he gets DQ'd or something if they've got rules in the match. And then that's your story, that he just can't control his temper around Drew.
They don't put it on a pole or like something, a brass ring on a ladder or anything like that. They don't go full Russo.
Ladder match.
No Larry on a forklift match. None of that.
You've got a Dom Mysterio and a pole match coming up. You can't have a bracelet on a pole match close to it.
You can do a ladder match. Do a ladder match. Hang that from the center. You'll be good. You'll be good.
Right.
Just bring it down a little lower. We'll be fine. Roman Reigns returns. Big buzz. He's coming back tomorrow night. He will be live. A huge moment. Did they do that well? How do we feel about it? Jacob Fatu selling the leg was excellent, apparently, because he's A-okay, I hear. I hope. But the Tribal Chief returns. A lot of theories on how it was going to go down. Did you like how it went down?
I loved it. I really loved how it went down. I know we talked about it in the chat, like I think it was Tuesday during NXT. I did not realize it was Roman Reigns' WrestleMania 40 music, but I knew it was Roman Reigns regardless. As soon as the drums hit, I was like, it's Roman Reigns. Who else is it gonna be? But yeah, I think it was presented nicely. I like how he kind of strode to the ring, gazed to the audience, and then when he got close to the ring, like for a split second when he ran in, you thought he was about to attack Cody Rhodes, but no, he kind of turned his body a little bit, hit the Superman punch on Solo, big pop. I think it was well done. I like the nod that he did to Cody Rhodes after he took out Solo, like, okay, go ahead, this is your moment, and he kind of backed away. I thought it was done perfection. It was perfection to me.
Yeah, it's the same thing with me. I looked at it as there's a lot of people that have complained, like, why didn't he smash Cody instead or take them both out? And it's like, it's the Warriors' respect over everything else. They went to hell and back at WrestleMania. And it's that thing of, you can have your moment. I've done my bit. I mean, like you said, when he first came out as well, it was the one I heard the flash. It took me a few moments. I'm not going to lie. I heard the drums and I thought, they completely changed the music. It's when I heard like the violin part kick in, I was like, you see, I literally was like, oh, it's the WrestleMania version. So I love that, especially now to put it on Spotify because he's used it there. So I'm 100 times happier. But yeah, it's and the slow walk down as well. It gave everyone time to be like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna crack Solo because that's his thing, or is he gonna take out Cody and then say, that was your moment, your family? Now we settle it in the tribal circle instead, like him and Jay had the thing for the tribal rules and that. But yeah, also I would not have wanted to be on the other side of that spear that Solo took, because that started to look personal when you watch a few replays.
Right.
But I think the brilliance of that one was Roman had his moment, and yet it still somehow didn't completely overshadow Cody getting the victory at the very end. It let the whole story be told out without everyone just forgetting about it. It's just, I'll say it a million times. You've talked to me. I love the storytelling aspect of wrestling. It's what makes me a little kid again when I watch it. And that was just, even the deflections as he was walking away. He kept stopping, and I thought, every time he stopped, I thought, is he going to go back and hit Cody now?
Right.
I was like, I swear he's going to go, no, actually, I can't take this. And he's going to crack Cody as well. But it's that, like, he just, I think he did like 3 times and then was sort of like, nah, I'll leave it. It's like, so now the conversation's going to come back to Cody. Is it, I want my rematch now, so set it up.
I don't think that happens anytime soon. I see the question from Steve, like, how long before they just throw the championship on Roman again? It's not that simple. Roman has other things to do. Cody's going to be preoccupied. I don't see them just instantly running Cody Roman back, and that's why they told the story the way they did.
Yeah, that's 100% why you had Roman and Cody kind of just have that, not exactly a show of respect, but, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that you're not my issue right now. He's the fucking problem I'm dealing with. And I'm going to petition that Roman's music should now just be like the 96 Bulls music, because that's the goddamn GOAT coming out right now. Can we all just admit that? I think the temperature in the room got 10 degrees colder, but everybody's asshole was puckering, because when that man showed up, you knew things got real right there. I mean, the man OTC comes out like that, so, you know, that shirt's flying off the racks. They have, go ahead.
What is OTC? Well, we will address that.
We'll get there. We'll get that'll be a poll or something. But they have the custom championship belt that sells out 2 hours after, you know, SummerSlam, or after it goes up and everything. Instantly, this man comes back and becomes a game changer. And now does SmackDown become back towards the A show? If he's going to be, he's on this week's SmackDown. I believe he's advertised for next week's SmackDown as well. Does this really get SmackDown back on the right track?
It's not going to hurt.
I feel like it's the injection that SmackDown does need again at the moment, because it's sort of we've had the whole storyline with obviously the Bloodline doing their thing constantly as going around SmackDown. They attack whoever. Obviously, we've had the whole thing. They took out Orton, they took out Owens and stuff like that. But then it's sort of been, you've got Cody by himself. It's like, well, who's going to take out, like, deal with the blood, especially once Jacob joined.
Yep.
Yeah, right. He's a typhoon in nature in himself. It was like, who's going to take out those four guys by themselves? It's like, unless somebody brings a machine gun with them, nobody. So it's now you've got Roman. It's like, well, Roman's the guy that A, can smash people on that level, and B, how are the other guys behind Solo going? Are they just going to have 100% loyalty behind Solo regardless? Or are they going to be torn with the fact that you brought us in for the tribal stuff, but he's part of our tribe as well? Like, he's the tribal chief that the elders ordained. So do we dare go against him as well? And that's so. I think
Tonga Loa can't find his direction either way. He can't find a turnbuckle. He can't find a low ball. What have you?
He's got 2 eye patches.
Right. I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part. I ain't doing shit.
I've seen that. It's so accurate.
You know, poor Tonga. But do you really see anybody from the bloodline, the new bloodline, really? Like people have talked like, oh, Jacob's going to be really with Roman, but you can't have the biggest, baddest dog in the fight with the baby. It never works that way. Like, Roman has to conquer that giant on the way to Solo at some point.
Well, who here legitimately, show of hands, actually thought that he was actually injured the second that they showed that?
I did.
And allegedly he's completely fine. Yeah, that man knows how to sell, I guess, a broken leg. He's probably broken his own and broken a few of other people's as well. But you keep Jacob away, because to me, that's the match I want more than I want Roman versus Solo. I want Roman versus Jacob, just like how you want KO versus Jacob. Jacob's the new fun toy. Everyone, you want to just put him against people just to see if he'll smash them.
Yeah. The dream booking is endless, right? Like, it really, you can fantasy book till you're blue in the face.
Oh, absolutely. And you can still be able to do this once the bloodline ceases to be, or when it passes on, when it goes to this direction, that direction, what have you. Like, there's still even the Zilla Fatus, there's the Hikuleos, the Lance Anawahis. We've still got Dwayne floating around. Dwayne could be the ultimate puppet master.
Yep, that's always going to be my take.
Yeah, that's obviously the big thing that's floating around as well, though, isn't it? What is The Rock's deal in everything with it? Is he going to come out and be like, yeah, I'm the one that's been directing Solo all along?
Yeah.
Or is this going to be the twisting now of Solo's trying to take over everything, and that's who Roman has to turn to?
No, I think you get head of the board versus head of the table.
100%.
100%. You go that way with it.
Yeah, I think that's always the end.
Yeah, I think in the line with this is the thing on one side. Is it going to be, I need your help, come save me? Rock turns up, they have their match, whatever they do, and at the end of the match, he drops him to the rock bottom. And that's where the reveal comes from of, no, I'm not on your side. It's like, these are my boys. Because, let's face it, WWE is nailing the whole putting you in a false sense of security of what you think's happening, and then suddenly, no, you had no idea all along. So, It's just that nice build.
Christ, that's why we couldn't even make a decision on any predictions. This man was still taking Damian Priest till like ding ding, like bell ring.
I talked myself out of my original pick. That's how crazy it was. I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore.
That's the thing. They keep you constantly on the back foot on everything. You constantly question every second of what's going on, whether what you're seeing is actually the plan or if it's going this way, if it's going that way. Oh, okie dokie.
Quit.
Right. You had enough of us.
Give me 2 seconds.
Fair enough. We have a resurrection, and we don't even have Stoner Jesus in the chat yet. Or if I haven't seen him yet.
No, he's there. He's there. May the blunt be with you.
There we go.
Sorry about that,
guys. Welcome back. Let's talk about the best storyline on Raw. Liv Morgan. Dom got all the chicken nuggies. What are we gonna do?
I think I probably lost my voice in that first match with Liv and Rhea Ripley. I thought it was a phenomenal match. I think I said this could be Liv's, best match, and she doesn't have a lot of best matches, but I think this was one of the best matches with Liv. I want to give props and kudos to WWE's cameraman and production because of how well they were able to hide kind of Dominik Mysterio's turn on Rhea, because it seemed like Dom was trying to help Rhea with throwing the chair back in, and then you kind of see him point at Liv and point at the chair. Liv took over, hit the Oblivion 1, 2, 3, and then props to the cameraman again with you see Liv kind of celebrating for a second, and the camera pans away, and there's this smile on Dominik Mysterio's face, and that's when I was like, oh my god, he did help Liv, right? So props to to WWE's production in that entire 2-minute span. But I thought they nailed we all expected it, but I think they nailed it very well at SummerSlam.
I thought every time you were saying, props to the WWE camera guy, you were going to talk about Liv at the kickoff and everything. So I was like, my man's going to go for it.
But if you're a member of the channel, you can.
Right. But still, I think they nailed that with the whole Dom turn and the way that they shot it, the way that it was kind of revealed of only from that one angle could you see he's really pointing at the chair and towards Liv and everything. But is it also interesting that this man was already heel and somehow turned more heel?
He went healer.
Right.
A rare healer turn.
You can see it in a lot of the reactions, obviously combing through making the video for it. And that's one of the things that got me. There was such a mixture of people that he threw the chair in and they were like, oh my God, he's helping her straight away. And then I was in the other category when I said halfway to the match, I said, I think Dom's going to try to help Rhea and it's going to backfire and help Liv, which is what's happened before. So when it did it, I was there at first, I called it. I was like, see? I said, I thought they were going to get out. They're going to do the turn later. And then when I saw that smile, I was just literally like a lot of people. I looked and just went, he's smiling. Oh, and then it's damn, they played us big time.
Right. Yeah, I think I had three pops in a matter of 2 minutes. I popped when Liv won, then I popped when Dominik Mysterio smiled, and then I popped again when he picked her up and kissed her. I was my voice is gone. Stop having moments within 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, we had to clip it all out because so much was happening in quick succession of the same thing. Big reaction. And then, I knew they were going to kind of come together. I did not expect the big kiss that kind of sealed the deal. I think we were all kind of, shocked with that part of it.
Well, it was the one of two sides, like Geekbox was saying, of how there was either you thought that it was going to be Dom tries and helps Rhea and just screws it up and gets in the way, and that's what helps Liv win, or he's just can go for it and he's going to go full Eddie Guerrero with China, with Mamacita, and that's 100% what he did, and especially once he got the smirk. And now, how do we feel about the new Judgment Day? That there's no longer It's still kind of the Judgment
No
Day, but it's
leader.
in 2.0.
Yeah, and this whole concept of like no leader, no ego, like that never works out. So hold on tight,
No.
folks. I like it though, and I mean, again, I saw some things going around the internet. Maybe teasing the idea this sets up the Judgment Day and the Wyatt Six to have a little bit of a shindig.
Spook off. Let's go.
Spook off, right? So I like it. Finn Balor getting kind of pushed into the forefront is good for my wrestling viewing. I like what they did with JD this week as well. I really think there's a lot of like it's got a more of an attitude with this JD, if that makes sense. More of a chip on their shoulder.
See, I think this is a throwback, because I don't know how you guys saw, like when JD was on the Indies, he was the Irish psychopath at one point. And obviously, I don't know if you've seen the new shirt they've just released for Judgment Day.
Yeah,
they put him down as the Irish madman as well in the description. I saw that and I popped when I read it on the website, because see, obviously I've watched like small amounts of indie wrestling over the years. Obviously, it's one of the things watching it over here in England, it's a lot harder to get access to a lot of the indie wrestling that is in America and Canada.
Right.
But obviously, because he wrestled in the Irish indies, I was able to watch some of that when they used to put it on like they used to have it like mixed in with the channels with all the adult content and everything that you found up, and all that. So you had to find it. I watched him and Finn Balor both when they were very skinny and pasty together, and I loved them as a tag team.
That's different than today.
So skinnier and pastier.
There we go.
And it's when I saw they both come up onto the main roster, I was hooked from then. To see now, I literally, it feels like he had his match on Raw, and they literally said, "We've played around enough now doing Judgment Day, JD. Do the proper, do the version of you that's always been around with fit." Because even saw him bring things back, like doing the lifting headbutt and stuff like that. I've not seen him do that ever in WWE. So when he did that, I proper popped watching that in the match.
Got a lot of head to move.
I love this. Hell yeah, exactly. He's got to sell those Funkos. It's just a little bits like that. And obviously, I'm hoping there's sort of him and Finn used to have a move where he would he'd come up and headbutt them like in the chest, and as they threw their head back, then Finn would drop and do the running kick. Like does the bullet kick. Now, if they bring that back together, I'm just going to completely schoolboy over the whole thing. So,
is it Goth Bullet Club now at this point? Is that what Judgment Day is now? Because we've got Prince Devitu and everything. Is it kind of like Goth, Bullet Club?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm talking a lot. It's just I've only got one show to do it.
Right,
but yeah,
get it
but
all
it's I think the thing was I said it was Rhea and Damien are going out the Judgment Day together because it made sense. But the other reason as well is I think the thing Finn's got right now is he's actually a sympathetic heel to the fact that, like he said about what's happened over the last year. I heard that and I was like, tell me the point that Finn just lied. Because he the whole time was trying to be like, we're all brothers and sisters here. And Damien has more and more been about, I mean, I say it started at Survivor Series when it was like, right, he's in charge of the team then. And then he started giving out orders, and then Rhea started coming in demanding answers for things the Judgment Day did, and it was like, you've got two leaders now.
Right.
It was supposed to be, there's no leaders. So, and it's obviously Edge became the leader originally. That's why they kicked him out. And they did the same thing as they've been kicked. So like I said, that's the cycle story of every time someone rises to the top, the group's going to kick them to the curb instead.
And I actually forgot until Finn Balor brought it up on Raw that Damian Priest, and I was there last year at SummerSlam, like Damian Priest somewhat kind of interfered in that match and really cost Finn Balor the World Heavyweight Championship. So to bring it full circle to a year, I talk about long-term storytelling. I thought that was perfect. One of the main reasons why I don't think I could really be on Damian Priest's side here, because I'm like, you did do this. You did this last. You're doing some other things to Finn Balor that haven't been brotherly. You're supposed to be brothers, supposed to be friends. So yeah, I don't know where this goes. It's gonna be interesting. Also, I want to point out that Damian Priest's first promo, basically as a face. Like, I needed that when he was world champion.
It was his best.
Right.
He killed it.
That's the best promo of his WWE career so far. And I will also just mention too how the first two people that Rhea beat up when she joined the Judgment Day was Liv and Dom as well. So interesting that comes around. But yeah, how do we feel now about Priest being a baby face and everything? I think we all clearly like the whole promo and everything.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
I think he has to be now. You can't exactly be the bad guy after he spent the last 2 months practically going, I'm the champion. I love you guys.
Yeah. They were aiming him there 100%.
And pushing this whole Terror Twins thing. It's crazy. I didn't see that coming. They're like a mixed tag team, the Terror Twins. They're their own little group still. They're sticking it out.
Yeah, I would like WWE to pull the trigger, and this is probably not a fan favorite thing, but pull the trigger on maybe Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley taking the tag team titles away from Finn Balor and JD. I don't know how that would go over with the fans. I mentioned it to a close friend of mine, and he about flipped out and was like, we don't need the intergender mess in WWE. But me personally, I wouldn't mind it.
I
can see. I think I can see that playing as a match. It depends how long they can run it for. Because once you've got them tag champions, then you've got with having Rhea in the ring, who can you put in the ring and legitimately sell in the long term that Rhea would be able to beat them up as well? Because you start getting to the point you'll have guys as well. I think be like, Rhea's a big tough bitch, but I'm not going to go there. It was the China problem. Guys like Billy Gunn in the end, with China, they were like, I don't mind doing X, Y, Z, but now you're making me look weak. You're making me look like Mark Miro because I've got a woman beating me up and I was Intercontinental Champion 2 months ago.
Right. So, who do you think I am, Jeff Jarrett?
Exactly. What's this, AEW?
Well, you could have,
I had to get it in there. Lasted this long.
We'll go get there. We go get there.
It's coming.
But I think that you at least get a one Rhea versus Dom match, when you had Becky versus Ellsworth or Asuka versus Ellsworth, stuff like that. You maybe get one of those. I don't think it's an actual intergender tag team run. Might be a little much right now.
If anybody could make it work, Rhea Ripley could make it work.
And I only really thought about that after she literally headbutt that man. She headbutted JD. You heard it, and I was like, "Give them the tag team titles. I want it.
Right? There's enough guys on the roster. She kicked the living shit out of.
I mean, she slammed Gallows, so
that's true. Right. All right. Just real quick, as we'll kind of peel away from the WWE, or at least early this week. And we'll circle back around because I do see some stuff in the chat that I want to click on. But I guess kind of transitioning. Actually, we'll do this as a transition. Bobby MVP. MVP shows up at GCW, announces that he's no longer tied to the WWE. Bobby's contract expires this week. Lots of speculations, lots of rumors, lots of talk. What do we think?
I would like to see Bobby stay. Obviously, I think Bobby's a talent. Obviously, he's a huge guy. If they could actually ever just get behind him, even going all the way back to the Hurt Business, I think we'd be in a different place in time with Bobby, because when he was the almighty Bobby Lashley, I think he was, at the peak of his game, and he was a solid world champion. I hope that if he's probably assumingly leaving WWE, I hope he has success. I think he will clearly on the independent scene. I think he'd probably be a better fit, honestly, in TNA right now than AEW, because he has no one in AEW that could even be close to his size. It would look hysterical if he's out there having to have a match with Darby Allin
and lose.
That's the thing too. He would do that and lose.
The match isn't the issue. The losing is.
I think that's a good shout, Nick, with TNA. I think TNA is a great thing as well, because Bobby Lashley needs, as we showed when they did some stuff for him before, Bobby Lashley needs a storyline you can jump into and sit on for a while and develop, because I've never been the biggest fan of Lashley, but we learned the last few years, Lashley is a storyteller when he's given the chance to do it. And he knows how to tell the hard story of, I'm going to smash you and I'm going to smash you again, where I don't think AEW would give him more than 2 weeks to try and tell a story before they flip it onto something else, or suddenly it's you got to either wrestle somebody that you're not allowed to beat because it would ruin whatever we're going to do with them in 6 months' time that we'll forget about by then. Or it's a bigger household, like it'll be like a Moxley or something, or we want Moxley to beat the big bad man so he can look better. Whereas I think in TNA, you've got the run through. I mean, some of the main events we've seen in TNA lately, you got guys like Moose and that in there as well. Stick Bobby Lashley in one of those matches, you've got a classic, and that's poster stuff as well. Like make him big, make him bad, and now you've got most of the TNA roster. That's who you've got to walk through if you want to progress. And Bobby Lashley will kill you along the way. So I'd watch TNA a lot more, to be fair, if Bobby Lashley was in it doing that.
Anthony, here's your chance for a sales pitch. Go ahead.
I know I talked about it on my own like social media about the Hurt Business showing up in TNA, right? I think that'd be perfect. You have the Hurt Business versus the system, right? And it seems like MVP is actually not done wrestling. Like he said he wants to wrestle. So this is your chance to have MVP Russell. You got Bobby Lashley by your side. You hook up with Shelton Benjamin, and then I said add someone in there that's really not doing much in TNA but still stays in TNA, and I think that's Tasha Steelz. You add Tasha Steelz in that Hurt Business in TNA and let them run TNA. After you build them up for some months and you let them go after the system, after that, just hand them all the gold. And like Geekbox said, Moose versus Bobby Lashley. I know it happened years ago, but Moose and Bobby Lashley are two different people than years ago. So let's have that again. So I'm all for Bobby Lashley showing up in TNA, honestly. And this is going to be a dig on AEW, and I know we're going to get to that eventually, but I don't think anybody should go to AEW. That's just my opinion.
I'd just like to say, actually, I want to change my answer in context. I want to actually see the Hurt Business in AEW just to watch them beat the crap out of the learning tree week after week after week.
In a perfect world, that'd be lovely, but they'd end up in a storyline against the Elite where they go under in some anarchy in the arena match, like, but maybe Sasha Banks could join the Hurt Business and be the CEO.
yeah. I can imagine Bobby Lashley dancing to the ring going CEO.
Lashley, Bobby.
The idea of Lashley and Moose, or Lashley and Lance Archer. No, doesn't have the same ring to it. I love both. That don't have a ring to it though.
They did pretty much a kind of a Hurt Business before in TNA when Lashley was there, when it was him, MVP, and Kenny King. And that's really what got Lashley back to where WWE wanted to sign him again, everything like that. So he could easily slide right back into there and being a world champ. Like imagine even outside of just a Lashley versus Moose, a Lashley versus a Josh Alexander, a Lashley versus an Alex Hammerstone, a Lashley versus a Steve Macklin, a Lashley versus a Joe Hendry. Instantly drop him into there, and it's 100%. That's a hell of a main event scene.
Yeah, I'd take Nick Nemeth defending against Bobby Lashley in the main event.
Right,
that'd be a hell of a match.
Right, and I was even gonna say Bobby Lashley versus Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy has been pulling out some major main events over the past couple of months. I know a lot of people hated the Moose before it happened, but they hated Moose versus Matt Hardy going into, I think it was Under Siege, and that match stole the show. So it's like any of those top guys right now in TNA, Bobby Lashley versus any of them, give it to me. And then give me a Jordan Grace and Bobby Lashley stare off like we got Alex Hammerstone and Jordan Grace a couple of weeks ago.
Would you put Jonathan Gresham with a Bobby Lashley? I know he's kind of like, Squidward, just shooting off ink everywhere.
I will call him Mini-Me.
Yeah. Little bit.
I am sorry, Jonathan, but damn.
I'm also super excited for now the idea of getting Bobby Lashley in GCW at Bloodsport, because we saw MVP show up there, and I know you and I, when we were watching that live, were excited for even just MVP showing up there, and I instantly sat there and was like, okay, so what now if Bobby shows up too? Because if MVP's there, I feel like they're leaving the company together. Those two, I think, are going to be side by side wherever they end up going. Whatever they end up doing, they're doing it together.
Yeah.
I think if they sign a contract in TNA for MVP, though, it should be the stipulation of you'll get paid your normal amount, and just underneath, every time though you write something stupid on social media, we deduct your pay.
AEW should adopt that policy, but then
No, they'd be bankrupt already. What the fuck are you talking about?
That's what I mean. Like, we need to
Just
dial
from Tony, he'd be putting pennies in the sway jar.
No, it's you got me sold on TNA. Like, it sounds like a way better landing spot of when you go through that, like, okay, Lance Archer, but like you go through that list of top guys, like even like Bobby Lashley would tower over an MJF or Adam Page. Like, he should just walk in and be throwing all these people around.
He'd be Obafemi. He could be Obafemi. And now that's the thing is now if he's over there in TNA, we can just bring him into NXT. We could get a Bobby Lashley versus an Obafemi. We might get a Moose versus an Obafemi, but now we could also even get a Bobby Lashley versus an Obafemi.
It's a bit of a backdoor trick they got up there.
Exactly. Point ahead, look smart.
Right.
Hey, now you can get a Bobby Lashley versus Odyssey Jones.
Ho Christ
Now
is
we know
risen,
he's still
Christ is
employed.
born. They remember that they had Odyssey Jones on the roster.
I feel bad. I literally saw the title of that video and I went, "Who?" And I watched it. I was like, "Oh yeah, of course." I was like, "Oh yeah, I feel bad now."
It took a second to be like, wait a minute. No, it is.
How do you feel that he's a member of the New Day?
I hate it. I hate
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's the story thing there. That's what I thought. Like,
Yeah.
Kofi just looked peeved. The fact it's on the outside, just dead eyeing him, and I was like, "Is this the story that Xavier's?"
No,
gone?
Woods was peeved, right?
Oh, Woods, yeah.
Woods didn't
Yeah,
like it at all.
It's Kofi. Sorry, it's Kofi's bringing in and going. Great, we got support.
Yeah,
And that's going to be the thing with Woods. Like, is it going to be? Why is it not just good enough? It's the two of us, or is it going to be the thing of you're trying to replace Big E? Don't like that.
Ooh, yeah.
But yeah, because it's very like it just seems like very good with time as well. They just put the thing out as well about Big E's obviously feeling good now. Now he's just got to decide if he's going to get back in the ring or not because his body's feeling healthy.
Right.
But yeah,
I
it's
like
that
it.
whole. You just see they picked somebody who happened to look the big strong guy, which was whole Big E's old shtick as well. Yeah, sorry.
I like it if it's going to be the end of the New Day because I'm tired of them. If this is going to be the end of the New Day and Odyssey Jones is the cause of it between Kofi and Woods, I'm okay with it. But if they continue this ride and Odyssey Jones is actually going to be a part of the New Day and they're not going to split, I don't want to see it. I honestly don't want to see it. I'm glad that he came in and made a big splash, though. I hate it was on the cost of Karrion Kross because I feel like this pushes this man back when he's already struggling to move ahead. So, but other than that, yeah, if this is going to be the cause of the New Day splitting, then I'm fine with it.
So did we witness the funeral of AOP when he did that double side slam?
Well, it's
right.
Like as a collective.
Oh yeah, you saw the Final Testament of Final Testament. That was up there with when that Nomine Patre Fili Espirito Santo. That's the same thing of when MJF sat there and hoofed Adam Cole between the Velos. That was the end of the Undisputed Kingdom. That was the end of Final Testament right there. But I do think that this sets up to where this is very much setting up the Woods heel turn, and they're gonna go with a New Day split up, which I never thought that they were going to do, and I'm gonna kind of thought they never should have done.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're going to do with it, this is a way to go with it. You're going to make it to where someone intervenes, gets involved, what have you, versus they just kind of go their separate ways. Would have never felt right.
What if it's the idea that Woods turns on Kofi? I love the idea, and I think I've always had like old, the Woods from TNA in our head, right? We saw what he did as Consequences, and I know when he started in New Day, they were heels. What if it's a heel him with a big old heater in Odyssey?
That's not a bad shout either. Then you get those two versus if you could get Big E back in the ring, you get Kofi and Big E versus those two.
Right.
I love that. Yeah, I love almost the gut dust to swerve. It's the definition. I brought him in.
Yeah.
It's like that's the almost. It almost feels a bit like the Roman bringing in Solo thing. When he just appeared, it's like I brought in my muscle now. It's like this is the guy that's going to mess everybody up, and basically, if you come after me, you've got him on the line as well.
And does it help though too that respectfully Kofi's probably on the back nine when it comes to his in-ring stuff and everything. So you set up Xavier and Odyssey to be a thing going forward because Austin Creed still got some miles on that tread, and Odyssey's clearly he's got 2 years redshirting, so he's all good and ready to go.
Right.
I actually think they've got the opportunity here to do what I would consider personally a better version of the story they tried to do with AJ and Omos, of AJ chasing down a title with Omos as his enforcer. I'd love to see a heel version of him do that. And it's like, this is my backup. Try me.
Yeah, 100%.
I just want to see him with singles gold. I think it's been far too long since he's had a singles title put on him.
Agreed.
Well, all right. We've been WWE heavy for a lot of this, but with that transition and the rumors of Bobby and MVP, but potentially going over to TK. One of the things that's going around right now is a quote from TK. And the IWC gets so upset about things, but they're not wrong at all times. But, this idea that there's a lot of people out there that don't want to see AEW succeed and spend a lot of time trying to stop it.
And their initials are TK.
Yeah, there you go. That's the biggest. The calls coming from within
the room, Tony.
It's you. You're the problem.
But they keep tripping over their own goddamn shoelaces to the point that they can't even see that they're the issue. That's the thing. Right. They have their head literally shoved so far up their own ass that it is popped back out through their shoulders and it looks normal again.
Yeah, it's literally the whole AEW thing with that. Like, it just toys out the pram mentality that TK has. It's like, it's always like, it's everyone else. Like, people want to see AEW fail. And it's like, no. The reason people are so peeved at you, Tony, is because we all want to see AEW succeed massively and launch every single star you've ever paid for, whether they're new indie, whether they've come in from a big promotion, they come from WWE and that. It's like, we want to see everybody win. So we've got 2 channels of amazing wrestling at high production value. And it's like, and instead you're so busy playing with your action figures in the sandbox and pretending who's the best in the world that instead we get to see the same crap. Yeah, literally, it's the thing with, no, Tony, we want to see you succeed. You just got your head so far up your ass, like Nick said. It's like you're sniffing out your own nostrils again with an intervention. It's one of those, and you're the thing that's breaking. I mean, it's not that hard to understand the concept. I feel of maybe I need to hire a couple of writers and get someone next to me that can give me a counterpoint of view, and we'll find a space in the middle, and that way we cover our fans. Instead, he literally feels like the kid in the playground that's gone, do you want to go and play tag? No, I'm not in the mood for it. Why does nobody like me? Why doesn't
right?
It's like, no, it's because you suck. It's like it's simple as that. It's you're living in your own fantasy.
It's a constant.
I warned you about to start me on AEW. But yeah, again, it's that I literally feel like if you've ever watched Matt Cardona do a figure hunt on his videos, that's how Tony Khan books a pay-per-view.
It definitely feels that way at times. And I mean, like, a lot of ways, again, I think anyone that is rooting for them to fail, a lot of it was brought on by them as far as their overall present, like, attitude towards the IWC.
Right.
And then in addition to that, your biggest, like, we're not killing you as fans, the critics and the people that you think are rooting against you, the biggest problems are your own problems.
They've created the toxicity that I mean, I don't know you guys, how many times a day online do you see people talk about either AEW's numbers or some stupid photo of an arena an hour before a WWE show that's half empty? And look how many people didn't turn up. But it's like it's being facilitated by the product itself. And that's what I think you can't seem to. If they turn around and just didn't talk about WWE at all, or the other, and just focused in-house on promoting themselves, I just feel like Tony's like a jealous ex-girlfriend. She wants to try and drag you down because she can't elevate herself.
Just bitter.
I just don't understand how you, in one breath, you say that WWE is the Harvey Weinstein of professional wrestling, and then 3 months later, you want to say, "I would love to work with WWE."
P. Diddy.
Make it make sense.
That's what he is. He's the P. Diddy of wrestling. Sorry, Anthony. Go ahead.
It's like make it make sense, because the math is not mathing. What do you want out of your company in professional wrestling? I feel like with that statement of him wanting to work with WWE, he has seen how it has benefited both WWE and TNA working together. And I think he's a bitter ex-girlfriend because he had that moment 2 years ago with not WWE, but with TNA, and he floundered it because he wanted to push his own guys and not give any TNA any love in that entirety with the partnership with TNA. I don't get it. I really don't get it with Tony Khan. I literally try each and every week to watch Dynamite. I go in, like KJ says, every opening stream with an open mind. Last night at 8:45, I said, I'm done. I can't do this. I'm out. Like I just couldn't do it last night. It's because of what he presents on TV. Everything looks confusing. You think you're heading into one direction, and they make a left turn, and you're like,
oh, it's because
well, why does that make? Like, why does that supposed to go there when you were heading in this direction?
Cocaine's a hell of a drug, allegedly.
And what's his name? Not Okada, Swerve, and they had their match at the last pay-per-view. Osprey. Like, I thought we were heading to that, to all in, all out, and no, we went a totally different direction because he thought it was okay to make his tournament the to have a championship match at All In because of what WWE did with their tournament in SummerSlam. I don't get this man. And it's hard to follow a product when I don't think he understands what's going on in his own product.
He talks out of both sides of his mouth. That's what it really is. On one hand, it's really that we're going to compete with WWE and everything like that. But then when you compete and you don't do so well, when you get punched in the mouth, oh, everybody's always picking on me. Everybody's hating on me. WWE sends people specifically to send stuff out against us. It's the WWE bots. He rallies the IWC Twitter bot universe and everything, like his own little parade there and everything. But then still wants to, say that he's challenging with WWE and everything. We've said this multiple times for almost damn near 2 years on this channel of Tony Khan needs to find his fucking lane and stay in it. Of you want to be the alternative, so fucking stay there. Quit trying to be their mini-me. Quit trying to be their copycat, their knockoff, their Temu, their Wish.com, what have you. I like that they've taken up the residency with Collision and everything. It's gotten very NXT Full Sail vibes, which I like because you get a constant crowd and everything. Maybe do that with Dynamite, with Daily's Place, what have you. They really need to focus on what they're trying to be and get an actual true image of what AEW is instead of trying to be a hodgepodge of everything.
A smorgasbord.
The moose boosh.
Go ahead, Nick.
Oh,
no, that was good.
Well,
you forgot there's two of us.
I got two.
There you go. Put me as Redneck or something. Whatever.
Well, someone was calling you Redbeard here. So see, we've got a member of the Wyatt Sick already here. We got Redbeard.
Yeah. Oh man,
That's what somebody said.
Somebody put out my video. They put the guy in the third video, whatever, looks exactly like Eric Rowan. I flicked it as me. I was like, I'll take that compliment any day of the week. I love that guy. But yeah, it's like you said. I think this is AEW's biggest thing of the fact that Anthony nailed it perfect. It is literally like watching somebody pissed up try and drive home. They kind of know where they're going, but they're probably not going to end up where they plan, and eventually they're going to get pulled over by the cops.
Some of us have been there.
And it's like, and it's the thing that sticks in my head with all this is I remember when it started, one of the things that TK came out and said is, I will never be the guy like other promotions that change their mind every last minute before a match happens, because that's what this company's about, is telling stories and creating opportunities for new talent. And he has managed to do every single desecration to that statement since.
In his defense, he doesn't really change his mind. He just never has it made up until it's too late. Or
like Swiss
you
cheese.
can't change it if you don't make a decision,
right?
You know what it is, don't you? It's like, oh, my this dolly broke, so I need to put this one down, and now I'm going to pick up the other dolly. Yeah, there we go. It's like the old. Do you remember the games where you put the two wrestling characters in and press the buttons, or the boxers, and they just hit each other until one of them pops off?
Yeah.
Except, we do this, and then at some point we paint John Moxley's head red, and then we just carry on through the system. Oh,
That tends to happen.
Like I said, sorry,
you go ahead.
mate.
I was gonna say that I think Nick, the above Nick, we talked about it earlier.
All right, I guess Big Nick, Quarter Nick, I don't know what's going on.
We talked about it earlier this year when Impact was changing over to TNA, and how we both believe that TNA might be the alternative that AEW was trying to be. And I feel like that's really what it is now. Like, TNA is the alternative that AEW wanted to be. And it kind of shows when Slammiversary, me and KJ were here, and Joe Hendry didn't win the TNA World Championship, right? Everybody on social media was like, TNA dropped the ball. It should have been Joe Hendry. No, TNA built a story for 6 months to get Nick Nemeth to the point of him winning the world championship at Slammiversary. I remember saying it on our Hard to Kill stream that he's going to win at Slammiversary. Now, I did change getting close to it because I didn't know. I was like, maybe they do pull the trigger on Joe Hendry at this point. But no, they stuck with their guns and they gave it to Nick Nemeth. And I think the difference right now with TNA and what AEW is trying to present is consistency. That is the same thing with WWE. WWE is consistent. Every time you're watching WWE, no matter if it's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, you're getting a story. Like on Raw, you got Liv and the Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley. You got Gunther and Randy Orton now. On SmackDown, you got the Bloodline. You had Bayley and Nia Jax for a couple of weeks there. There are stories that get you to come back each and every week. With AEW, I don't know what I'm following. I really don't. I don't know what we're doing in the main event scene with Swerve. I don't know why Mercedes Moné is holding 72 belts. I don't get it. I really don't. And it's like, I want to come back and watch, but I don't know what direction we're going in.
They lost all the momentum that they had, and they have not a fucking clue how to get it back. That's really what it is, because at one point it was there. At one point, it really was the alternative. It was Christ. Even when we started the channel, KJ started it before anybody else. So where you started this based on being an AEW fan, had the whole momentum behind it. It won. Our weekly rankings, whatever, for show of the week and everything, unanimously multiple times. And now that they've lost that momentum through the brawl out, through All In, through this thing, through that thing, through that issue, through this, through that, they always take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and they don't know how to get any of their momentum back at all. And now still constantly you get a little bit of good news, and then you get 2 or 3 stories that leak that are terrible.
Yeah, and we're going to get into a couple of the terrible things in a second, but yeah, I think that is my biggest thing as a fan. And a lot of times, like, again, I think a lot of the gatekeepers in the wrestling community, especially when it pertains to AEW, I find them far worse than the other side. Like, if I say something negative about WWE online, the odd, moron walking around will say something outlandish in return. If I go after AEW at all, and I don't even have to be critical, it's just, here's my thoughts on what I saw. It's far more putrid, far more aggressive. I don't know why that is, but that's been my experience. And as an AEW fan, I got to keep telling people, like, no, I started doing all this because AEW was hot. It was on fire. They were bringing talents that I only saw on YouTube or in video clips. Now they're going to be on TV. This is crazy. and they were up against a Vince McMahon run WWE, which was horrendous. So they were on fire, but the game changed and they didn't have a second gear. Like when WWE pulled past them again, they haven't had an answer since. And it's that mentality of it's watching it go downhill and everyone from the inside going, no, everything's great. Everything's great. Like Anthony was giving his example, and I said jokingly, oh, it's just you don't get the story. That's the problem. People out there that don't understand AEW stuff, it's their fault. That's the worst part.
It's this constant inner mindset. It's a fucking cult at this point, respectfully. Because, well, they've gone from literally being, they were the fan base that, like you said, KG, that even you, prime example, somebody that just didn't want to deal with the McMahon WWE product anymore. So here's an alternative, and here it's got guys that I know or I want to know about. They present them really well. This is a fucking hot product. It's putting on great matches and everything like that. And now we've gone all the way to where we're having meetings with Shane McMahon. So, boy, howdy, has AEW lost its way from trying to be the alternative to the McMahons to now we want to be partners with the McMahons. So, I think that's really, it's now the fucking serpent eating its tail at this point. It's gone full fucking circle.
Right. And the AEW fans, for me, going back to KJ's point, like that's why I don't even talk about AEW on TikTok. Like I don't make a AEW video, period, because the one time I did, and it was when MJF did the whole pipe bomb thing on Tony Khan, and then he was gone for like 3 months, right? That night, I was like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. I can't wait to see where this goes. And I got attacked because I actually liked it. And I was like, what?
But you didn't like it how I liked it.
Like, where is your mindset? A couple of months ago, I made a random video about TNA. And when I was talking about TNA, someone came in the comments and was like, you're like all of those other wrestling content creators. You got pro wrestling in your title, but you never talk about AEW because of you right there. That's exactly why I don't talk about AEW. They're far aggressive, the fans. I've been to shows here in Atlanta, and the fans in the arena are aggressive. Like I don't get it. I really don't.
It's funny. We're in like the greatest time to be a wrestling fan, I think, now, with the options, the networks. Obviously, the territories are dead. We don't have the restriction of territories anymore. Even the smallest productions, you can like. I mean, I watched a video earlier of a 10-minute match from that soft ground wrestling on the other side of the world. It was an interesting match to watch. I caught that. There was some really cool stuff in there. Some of it's obviously the restrictions they have is what I like, but it's can you imagine 10, 15 years ago? So there's a group on the other side of the world, they're wrestling in mud. You can sit and watch an entire show that it just didn't exist. And we've got people that are acting in this tribalistic manner. Like it's like okay, you don't like WWE, that's cool. Unless somebody's going to Clockwork Orange you in the cinema and make you watch the show, it's why does it matter if you don't like WWE? It's like good for you. It's and like I said on the other side that they bring up a lot of stuff with AEW. It feels like as well a lot we get. I've had this theory for a while, so I'm curious what you guys think. Actually, I actually don't think at times TK has that much confidence in AEW's core itself, which is why he swamps Japan, Mexico with everything he can because he doesn't have faith in the base. Because after the first 6 months, like Anthony say, you had it as a new, and people are excited. Obviously, like KJ, you were into it when it first started. Like I watched the first All In, loved it. I was like, this feels like a kind of Japanese influence, a bit more indie, but been presented on a much higher level. Yeah. And the whole thing I loved. Within 3 months, I was done when AEW started because it was once the new factor ran out, that it was like they were leaning on it's new, it's exciting. Now it's like, well, now we've got sponsorships coming in, and we want to get on the correct TV network. And it's like I laughed. I said the kill list was when they came out with, we've given a list of things now that the agents have to approve before the talent can do it. And I was like, that's WWE. You've just stepped into the realm of central TV, and it's like now you got to figure out how to get around it. And AEW has never said the thing. They can't improve themselves, So all they can do is try and promote the idea of bringing down the competition around them so they look better in hindsight. And then Vince got pushed out the corner. Papa H came in and took over. And it's like, and now I think Tony's just throwing his toys out the pram, because it's like, you're being taken to school now because you love wrestling as the kid that plays with your toys. This guy loves wrestling as in, I've bled and died for it nearly 100 times. So it's one of those, who's got the example of who's going to pour their heart and soul into it. I mean, I don't imagine Tony Khan's sat there at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to plan out the best wrestling show that he can put on for the fans the next day.
Oh, I'm sure he probably is. He's probably on that snow dust and everything. He's trying to think he can plan it out. It's more of just, he's Pepe Sylvia. He's Charlie with, a bunch of clippings and, thumbtacks and yarn and everything like that.
She's not on a video call with Dave Meltzer. Dear Dave.
Dave's killing me at this point. Dave's spending way too much of his time. Like, you're supposed to consider yourself something, and he's just like having conversations with people. It's like, so bad. Anyway, I'm not getting into Meltzer because we'll be here for another 2 hours, and I have a lot to unpeel with that. At what point do you, like, I know TK's big concern is WWE. The problem is so much of the wrestling promotions around them, including TNA, are on the rise. Like, a lot of the companies are working together, but like they're also putting out really solid shows where I can, take in, a House of Glory or a Progress or New Japan. There's a lot of product out there that, he's so fixated on WWE, but he's watching his numbers dwindle. Like, I know we don't love talking about the ratings, but they ate shit this week.
Was it because of the Olympics?
That fucking hell. Shut up, Anthony.
Because of the Olympics, the Westminster Dog Show,
no Big Bang Theory.
Right. Well, yeah, remember, they need the Big Bang Theory as their lead in. They can't have the Black Panther as a lead. It's amazing that a show has like a writer to get any sort of ratings. I only want brown M&Ms, type of shit. Like, you have to have all these stipulations to make sure that you have good ratings. Maybe then it's just you're the constant, you're the issue here. Then
I generally don't get caught up in that bullshit. But today, I literally of like, the delusion is crazy. And as I've said online during the Dynamite streams, is the excuses are equally as bad as the actual reason. So if the reason is your fan base is dwindling, the show's not that exciting, but now you're giving excuses that sound just as bad. Like, oh, well, other things were going on. No, dude, if you were putting on a good product, must see, wrestling fans will show up. Oh, no, they were watching the kayaking 500 meter or the fucking synchronized.
We had extreme kite flying on, channel 71. But it's just,
what are we doing?
The bar keeps getting lower too. Remember when it would be a mill on average, 100%, knock it out of the park constantly. Then it was 9s, 8s. Then we got to 7s. Now we're around 6s, and everything's still kind of fine. A high 6, and a low 7 is a good number now. When before that would have been, holy shit, the roof's caving in. But now that's fine because the standard, the goalposts keep getting moved. It's now constantly reevaluating and reassessing versus actually looking at what's going on.
Exactly. It's like I said, I think part of the problem with this as well is that AEW then puts out a focus on their numbers. It's like it's like being the fastest person in the team and then telling everybody how strong you are compared to everybody else.
Right.
It's like, well, why pick the one thing? And obviously, this is where Meltzer's jumped on it. Because it's like, it's just because, and like you said, it's like, well, we dropped down to 5,500 for this viewership because there was something that happened before. And it's sort of like somebody needs to slap Tony upside the head and be like, no, your product should be that good that people are choosing to watch your stuff over the other product. It shouldn't be no way. Like they said, like, was it WWE set the record because it's the only show that got over 5 million views on a Super Bowl weekend that was considered another sports system? It's like, if that means they pulled about 2-3 million people away from the Super Bowl to watch wrestling instead, and then catch up with the Super Bowl. It's like, if they can do it on the top end like that, I'm sure AEW can beat a comedy or a soap opera, or because I wonder what the next thing is going to be. It's like, well, people didn't watch because there was a really interesting advert on the other channel or something. It's just, Like KJ said perfectly, the excuses are just as bad as the actual reasoning. And there's businessmen involved in this, and they still can't put it together. Maybe it's just not the right business model. It's just the whole, if we throw money at it, people will watch eventually. And it just shows like TK is just so disconnected from how human beings actually operate. You know, it's just like, I swear he's like there's a film I remember seeing as a kid, and the little boy, he comes from a really rich family, and he's like, Daddy, it's really nice that all these people want to come and make donuts that we can eat all day. And his dad has to explain that it's their job, not that they do it for fun. That's how TK feels to me. Like the little boy.
He's goddamn bubble boy. 100%. You got Daddy Shad's money and everything like that. And so I know we've all pretty much said it. He's just out there picking and choosing through action figures and everything of what he wants to see happen that week, regardless of whether it makes sense or anything. But it's interesting how now the action figures that he can buy are starting to dry up, or are hopping out the shopping cart. And everything.
Is that what Jericho is? He's just the action thing's been left under the magnifying glass in the sun.
He's just climbing onto that thing.
He's just literally melting. That's what we're seeing.
Fresh out of the microwave. But speaking of Jericho and people and signings, and you got a good point, Nick. Big rumors about the Lucha Bros. Apparently, we've talked about Ricky. We know Ricky's just outside the Performance Center in a tent waiting for the day.
I'm surprised that that's now coming out as like breaking news that WWE's interested in Ricky Starks. Like, are you deaf? Are you blind? Is Stevie Wonder reporting this goddamn news? We've all known this. He said it. Fucking Tony Khan's damn near said it.
All right. I wish I could book a. Wait, what?
You booked the show, motherfucker.
What? Just real quick, I just want to say thank you to Spads for the super chat. I think he threw 2 in there. But I did want to say thank you for that and make sure we didn't skip over it. AEW only worked because it was new and WWE was bad. Neither are true anymore. Perfect.
Amen. Yeah.
Back to the signees, the Lucha Bros, etc.
Yeah, that should be an intro. The lucha side of wrestling is something that's never really gripped me massively. It's like I've always appreciated it. Like I've literally seen people's jaws drop when they're like, Rey Mysterio's one of the best of all time, and I've gone, yeah, I suppose. And it's like it's just never been my style of wrestling. Like, I grew up on World of Sport wrestling. And, that was the small guys were bigger than most of the freaking big guys in America at the time because they've, either a stick that could do loads of technical wrestling, which was just amazing to watch, or then you had like giant haystacks, Big Daddy, and people like super heavyweights in America. I'm like, that's not a super heavyweight. So I grew up with the whole thing. The guy's just going to grab you and beat the crap out of you like the stepchild. But as I said, I think that they're interesting that they come in what they can do, but at the same time, I feel like still even now, a lot of like lucha style wrestlers that come to WWE, they kind of just fall into the category of after a few months of excitement, what is there that they can really, they're either doing what Rey Mysterio does, or they need to find something that's really a specialist niche for them to stand out against the crowd. And that's the thing. I don't know if it would benefit them being put into the big field that WWE has right now. Now, if they went to NXT, I could see that being a shoot, but then people might see that as it's a bigger name in the world of wrestling going down to what's kind of considered a secondary platform within WWE circles. But yeah, there's a good few guys in TNA TNA as well, but in NXT that I would love to see them step in the ring with.
I guess this is one of the stories that I missed this week because I didn't know the Lucha Brothers were potentially leaving AEW. If they are going to transition to WWE, it would help with the tag team division if they put them on the main roster, because the tag team division, I feel like it's just lacking, right? I feel like if you bring them in, if you bring guys like heavily rumored the Motor City Machine Guns in, things of that sort, they can really expand that division, the tag team division. I would love to see it. again, going back to Geekbox point, like sometimes when you bring in those lucha guys to WWE, it doesn't work out unless you're Rey Mysterio, right? So maybe under Triple H it'd be a little different. Maybe he might have something up his sleeve to kind of introduce those guys in, and it kind of works out for the better of them. But if Lucha Bros want to come to WWE, if that's where their position is next, I feel like they can be a good catalyst for the tag team division.
Yeah, Triple H has a way to bring them in. It's called the LWO and Legado del Fantasma. That's probably 100% where they're going to probably introduce them. Granted, I think you, like Geekbox, from one Nick to another said, and same thing with Anthony, of they very much are a welcomed asset to have in that tag division, and then could still be used as singles competitors, what have you. Like, you could still get a Penta versus Andrade match in WWE. Who would have thought that? Or a Carmelo Hayes versus a Rey Fenix match. It could be a possibility. So I would add them to the main roster. You have them pop in, and WWE, especially now, hasn't been shying away from acknowledging that wrestling outside of them exists. So I think that would be a good way to introduce them. And then you can do like a video package, what have you, after the fact. They just show up one night, just kind of destroy some shit, take some people out. And then you could have a video package or two, what have you, that explains, you know, the lineage. Because I think WWE needs tag teams right now.
100%. That tag team division, we talked about it. All tag team divisions going to suck. There's good tag teams out there. There's not a whole lot of good tag team divisions. And out of any of the companies, maybe TNA's might have the best one out of the big three, just because they've had some back and forth and the system holding the belt and ABC chasing. And so I think they could use them. I'm a big fan of Penta and Rey. And there's so many options. And Nick, I think you said the name that I want to see. I think if they could align behind Andrade, and those three work together, it could be a real cool thing. Instead of joining one of the already existing groups, let's make another group. We'll have a third.
Right. What's better than the groups we already got? More groups.
More groups. It's all the groups. It's Triple H's favorite. But just because I know them three working together would be outstanding. They've done it before. But yeah, no, I think DIY, MCMG, the Lucha Bros. We'll see who else they bring
with Stephanie Vacour.
What's that? Oh, that'd be cool.
You put the Lucha Bros, you know, Penta, Fenix, you already kind of got very much the Lucha, a little bit of a darker gimmick. You put them with Stephanie Vacour, who's coming over. Be interessante. 100%.
Cool, you're getting your beard madness is going live, so you're getting complimented. You've outdone my beard usually. Right.
Well, this is the man I think who threw out there that we've even used of with great beard comes great reaction to everything. So.
Yeah, right. We need to make that as a shirt.
Oh, it is a shirt.
Designed as. Oh, right. So I'm out of the game now. Oh, you got that in your shop?
It's a shirt on the merch store.
Yeah.
See, I need to go. See, I got. As promised, when I went there to get the shirt, I think I went straight for the logo. I want the rep. I want the logo rep. I've already had I put the photo up. I already had somebody come back to it. Oh, that's good. Like, is that your YouTube thing? It's like, nah, it's not mine. So I shared the link with them instead. I was like, it's these guys, go watch. I know he's watched you since. I think it's one of the ones I missed because I just had to go to bed. Yeah, then he come back and he was like, oh, this the bit I went on to. He said, those guys are hilarious. Like, they're not really AEW fans, but they're watching an AEW show. I was just like, right, okay, that's
we like it, but we just want it to be better. That's the thing, is it's still the visceral of like, you can't say anything negative about AEW without like the pitchforks and torches just coming for you. Sorry.
Yeah,
I just look at it like my weekly like penance. Like, I can fuck around and do whatever I want for 6 days a week, and then like I make up for it on Wednesdays. Like, that's my comeback. So that's my penance for all my sins.
I think you can't avoid it though, can you? It's like you kind of want to be there and be like, oh, okay, fair enough. That was a good attempt at making that happen. And they really tried there, and it's like at least they gave it a go. But you can't. I think you get like your goodwill just runs out in the first half hour of the show, and then you just sat there going, Tony, what the fuck? Why would you book that? Like, you know, where did you just like have one of those wheels that you spin round or whatever it stops on? That's the end of the match.
Right.
It's like, it doesn't have to make sense as long as it happens. And if it's not working in 2 weeks' time, we'll just change person. Like, you know,
change places.
I'm just like, I'm really excited that in the next few weeks we're going to see the end of the MJF Adam Cole feud. Oh wait, don't, because we don't got a clue what's going on with it. Came back for like 2 minutes.
I'm out of the chair. I'm in the chair. Goodbye.
Yeah, and it's just like took the mask, and then it was almost like Adam Cole walked out and went, I can't be arsed with that anymore. I'm done. I'll see you in a bit. And it's just, I'll tell you what, MJF. I know you're like the biggest talent we've ever had, like that we've grown. But we're just going to start off tomorrow night's match with a random singles match you can take part in, just to make sure. It was like a medical check to make sure he could still wrestle. It was just,
and an eliminator at that.
Yeah, I watched it and I was just like, cool, it's cool to see MJF back, but what the hell did I just watch? I just had no clue what was going on. No. I thought I'd missed a bit of the story. But it's like, no, the fact that there was no story. It was just, yeah, just go have a match. Done. That's when I literally, that was the first AEW normal show I tried to watch in about 6 months when they put it up. And I literally got about 20 minutes past the MJF match and I just went, why am I still watching this?
But how do we feel about New America?
Yeah. Well, MJF in general. My question was going to be, Nick, is like,
okay,
like we look at this week's numbers. MJF's on your show. He's consistently on the show. Has MJF lost a bit of luster? Is MJF still the big hitter that he used to be?
I have to still wear this just to prove that I am still a scarf carrying member, but I'm just over though this whole Americana shtick. I've said this multiple times. Of this was just such not needed nonsense. With all of this, they had argued what some people were calling the best match in Dynamite history between MJF and Will Ospreay that came down to 59 minutes and 58 seconds. So that should have really played into who's the best in the world. MJF's whole thing is, I'm better than you, and you know it. And Ospreay is constantly the best in the world. So why not have that be the focus of the story versus even regardless of a fucking title, anything, but to sit there and go to, you know, living in America to where MJF's coming out like goddamn Apollo Creed and everything. It's just, it's so shoehorned and so unnecessary and just, it makes him feel watered down. It just takes everything that MJF was great about MJF and just muddles the fuck out of it. Like, it's now, I say this, MJF now has become a little bit like, I want to watch, and he puts on great matches. I just hate the fucking story.
Yeah, I literally felt. I'll tell you what. I peaked a tiny bit when we chucked the bin in the belt, the belt in the bin,
right?
And I was like, we're going to get a Burberry version of the international title. I was like, this is going to look freaking awesome with the Burberry belt, back strap on it, and all that, and it's going to be proper. This is my. When he pulled that thing out, I just went, oh my god, it's the US title, but worse. It's like, I'm like, this is how I felt when Edge replaced John Cena's title. It's like, I already hated the original title, and now they're replacing something that's like an abomination on top of it. And like you said, now it's stuff he's been doing on social media. You're American champion, you're American pride. And I'm like, is this trying to jump on the back of the whole fact that you've got your elections coming up and stuff.
Yeah.
Or has Tony Khan been playing with his Hulk Hogan action figures and realized I can't really hire Hogan, so I'll try.
I'll make my own Hogan.
Yeah,
he has Jera Hogan.
Yeah, and it's just like you've literally taken your diamond and painted it black for the sake of saying, "Look, I've got a black diamond." It's like what MJF. I think he should have had that hour-long match All In for a start. You're about to put on your biggest spectacle. Get your two biggest guys, basically, you've got, and let them rock
would you
the
not?
building.
I know that. Well, I know that would have been amazing to have that match there. But if you already had that match, do you not do say it All In like an Iron Man match or a Last Man Standing or something like? I think it should have been more keyed onto that of really showing who's better than who and everything.
Yeah. I think that's I think what I would have liked is to have the short match on the show, and MJF cheat to win the short match. Yeah. And then all in that could be their story of, right, you're going to pay now. You're going to come into my territory. You're coming to my country, and I'm going to make you suffer for a whole hour before I put you down and get my belt back. And then they do the same finish. MJF wins with like 2 seconds left to spare, and that's your big FU. I got you in your own country. I screwed you at the last second. It's like that to me. It's like that now. AEW's got a story for that belt that they can anchor something onto and be like. Now it's like we love MJF, but we also want to see him have the absolute crap kicked out of him because he screwed somebody in there. Like, how often do they come to England and you screwed the Englishman in England the same way in the last set? And then after that, I think if he came back and then did the American belt thing, it'd be like I conquered an Englishman in his own country.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now American pride. Exactly. I mean, like I said, I'm English, so I can double down on hating that crap. But it's the thing of I conquered an Englishman on English soil in London, which is our capital, and then go, I'm the American icon here. And then you could go full Americana with the thing, I conquered an Englishman for America. And everyone hate because it's so rammed down their throats that he's the pride of America.
Right. No, I think that I like that theory. From all of it sounds well done. I mean, I think this is backwards as usual with TK. He does the last thing first and the first thing last a lot of times. It's almost like you can't wait. And that's kind of how I would have flipped it, right? You say you make that your big moment. You have people on the edge of your seat, and in a big venue, big crowd, and that's where you do your biggest show. How do you top that? How are they going to be better, right? Like, where do you go with it?
Yeah, like I said, it's TK just books like a teenage boy touching a girl for the first time. Let's be honest, it's just straight in and done.
Feels like a bag of sand. It's like a bag of sand.
It's warm.
Bag of sand. That's all.
We're mature.
So yeah. Anyone else?
Well, here.
Go ahead. Scarf.
No, sorry, I should lose the scarf because we're done talking about the scarf. Well, actually, I was going to transition into something to where the scarf was getting yelled at or being part of an issue and everything like that. So, how do we feel about? I guess one DMD, that's pretty much laying down the LAW when it comes to the backstage in AW.
Can I just say first before we get into that actual specific thing?
Okay.
They fucked up her whole return from suspension last night. It bothered me so much. Tony Schiavone gets up and says, Christopher Daniels told him that Tony told him. I'm like, we're literally playing, like, you all got the tin cans with the strings? Like, to me, it made no sense. Instead of just having Britt, like, pop up, they had this weird kind of, like, and it's not like they said, she's back. Like, it was just done wrong. She could have popped up, explained that her suspension was over, and delivered it. But that was just my 2 cents on last.
Why would you even need to acknowledge the suspension, though? Did she acknowledge the suspension?
Yes.
What the? Why? Why are we playing to the dirt sheets? Like, why are we playing in Twitter? I've even seen like hardcore AW accounts on Twitter and everything that are just diehard one way. That's all they do. They're in this content form that have even said of like, we can't keep going at people that actually critique this product. And like, if you aren't, one of those that just lived on Twitter, there's shit on Dynamite that you wouldn't even know what is going on with and everything, because it's literally, they placate so much to the goddamn hardcore audience here. But why are we acknowledging the suspension? If you don't live on Twitter, you don't know she was suspended.
And it doesn't matter.
It's this AW thing is that we want to be the most real company out there, so we'll talk about it. It's like it's literally like you're supposed to suspend people's disbelief in the real world so they enjoy your product. This is one of the things I think that's killing them. Is they want it to be like AW. We want you to believe AW is part of your real life, and it's like we know it's not. That's the point. We watch wrestling to disconnect from all the BS that we have in normal life. But like for a couple of hours and just enjoy the show. It's like, I don't believe a guy who's 5'3" and weighs $150 is going to beat up a guy who's 6'5" and outweighs him three times over. But you know what? I'm going to believe it for the minute because let's face it, Rey Mysterio wouldn't have had a career if he couldn't do that.
Just not every time.
Yeah,
not every time. Right? Ray didn't win every match.
Exactly. It's just like that's how you could get things. Like when Rey Mysterio beat Kane, I absolutely loved Kane. I was peeved to all hell with it, but it's like, but you can watch that and be like, he toppled the giant. Just as easy you can believe when he tried to do the following week and Kane just choke slammed him. But it's not like they didn't go afterwards. Like, oh well, Ray's been out for a couple of weeks because it was his son's 7th birthday, so obviously the family went away for a week, so he kind of forgot about the anger with Kane. And and he's had a check on his leg because he did have an injury last year, but they've cleared that up, so he's going to come back tonight and attack Kane. We don't need to know what's going on in the real world with this stuff. It's like we just need to know. And I think the other thing with this MD that got me as well is I think I've said to you guys before, I hate that AEW's got this obsession with when someone comes back, they have to have this mini cinematic thing first. I hate that with a passion. They just ruined MJF coming back. Oh, they showed it going through the building. What the if they'd have been doing all that and then you just heard the come on, everyone would just lose their minds because MJF's music's just popped on. But yeah, they're doing with that. And now the one time they actually do it, that they just make somebody come back as a surprise, 2 seconds later they ruin it by opening their mouth. And like you said, you don't need to acknowledge there was a suspension.
Right.
It's just she's back. Great. Get her involved. Not basically she's a crap employee, so we had to change the plan for a little bit.
Well, I mean, now that she's back, I mean, again, this whole story, and maybe part of it is a bit of the nepotism within the walls and some of the backstage issues and drama. I'd love to get your guys' take on the idea. Britt throwing her weight around. Apparently, Conan alluding to the fact that Britt might have had something to do with Cody leaving because of issues with Brandy. And
I've heard that headline. I haven't read the article or anything like that. Can you or can anyone fill me in, I guess, a little bit more on that? I don't see how that connects.
Well, apparently the issue was this, that when Cody was in the company, Brandy was a big part of that. You remember Brandy was the head of the women's division. She was trying to do that. She was doing all her little side hustle. She was a part of the show. And apparently when the issues would arise with Britt, and not just with Brandy, but with many others, many might be me stretching it. Tony Khan, Tony Khan would consistently side with Britt. She was again one of the selected golden few, like a Sammy Guevara, like the Elite, that kind of seemed to get to do whatever they want, wherever they want, however they want. Which started a big part of the rift between Cody and some of the other, I guess, TK and some of the other people he was working with.
Oh, fair enough.
I guess that just goes back to Jade Cargill when she, changed over to WWE, said the front office is the front office, in WWE. There's a clear divide from being a wrestler and being in the front office. And I think that really just goes to say that, and we've seen multiple people come out and say that over the course of leaving AEW. So there's somewhat of some type of backstage riff with Britt Baker, because I think she had it out with one of the other ones. I can't think of her name right now. She's in a few with Deonna Purrazzo. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, and I'm gonna throw this out there, she could be the Sasha Banks of AEW.
100%. That is the goddamn comparable essential. I've literally been thinking that for the longest time. Thank you for saying that. Sir.
Really?
That those two could be the 1-to-1A and everything like that of a bit there.
I had never thought of it until this moment. I think that's a very interesting way to look at it, especially because they're locked together right now.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's amazing how the guy that's all ego left the company, and now it's become all ego wrestling, because that's really what it seems to be. Britt Baker was the OG, this is my locker room. Like we said, instantly, and Lufisto, Thunder Rosa, you can think of this name and that name and everything that have already had issues with Britt Baker. And now with Brady's another name on top of that, that she's been the quote unquote golden girl, and now this whole feud's been based on literally who's the golden girl of AEW between Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné. And they both, like, honestly, I really wish Britt wasn't, I guess, allegedly such a douchebag backstage, because she's actually good and she's actually talented in the ring and can cut a good promo. Like, I would want to see her outside of this. Mercedes is just trash, and you know, we're all in this together. High school, but yeah, to me, I would want to see Britt actually, like, to me, this is now, if I'm WWE, just fuck both of you. I don't ever want to sign any of you. Like, this is now.
Y'all keep this drama.
Right. This all just seems ridiculous now. Of there's always so much drama going on backstage with AEW that for every good story, there's 3 stories of just bullshit.
I feel like this is where the thing matching quite you describing obviously that backstage stuff and the mentality, and all I think of again, I just go back to the thought of that's the mentality of Tony Khan. That's why she gets the things. It's everyone else's fault if something goes wrong, and don't blame me. And I think it fits into his wheelhouse of the fact he's obviously built that sort of connection with her as well. Of all you've got to do is say, no, Tony, it's not you, it's them. It's the same with me. If they blame me, it's not me. It's that they're hating on me. Because this factored in with, I know when Cody left, obviously, one of the things I absolutely loved about Cody when he left AEW was the fact that he refused to crap on AEW as a business. As a response, he was like, great guys there, loved them. But his thing was, we just had different views of how it should be managed and how it should move forwards. And obviously somebody asked him, in an interview, they asked him about Brandy, and he always says, I can't speak on her behalf, but she had a different point of view of how a business moves forward compared to some of the people who wanted to keep us in the same place. And when you can't agree to disagree, then it's time to just disagree and move on. And now this has come out. It's like those 2 stories match up perfectly. This was the whole, she was also trying to convince Tony, I think, that the women's division needed that bit more mix, and they needed to move it forwards and actually have more people come in to be the top spots to develop your talent. Whereas Tony was just fixated on 1 or 2 women continuously, just putting up. Yeah, that's how you end up. You had like 2 powerhouses and a load of them that you do until she gets announced. It was almost like, I forgot how to pronounce her name or what it even was. Because it's like they have a top match and then they disappear for 6 weeks. Or then they're in a match that's got nothing to do with nothing. And then suddenly she's a number 1 contender again for the title, and you've got no idea how she got in that position. It's just sort of like, oh, we haven't used you for a little bit. Go on, go and have a crack. And now Mercedes has come in, and I feel like she's done a Chris Jericho to him, where she's sort of gotten in his ear, and it's like, if you spend a lot of money on me, I can make you a lot of money because everybody wants to see me perform. You know, and it's like, we don't want to see you perform. I mean, if going down that route, it's like what will soon be X. It's like not even your husband wanted to come and watch you perform, and he worked in the same business as you. So, you know, it's one of those, you can't even pop the guy that you're living with. It's I was just never sold on a Sasha Banks at all. It was like she's doing my head in. She went every single match, and I used to turn around and say to the missus while watching it, it's like, oh, here it is. It's coming. She'd be like, what's that? She's about to hit her finisher. We're all going to be shocked. But, she's won again. What a shocker. It's like, I mean, like I said, I think she did the same thing to Vince when he was in charge. She got in Vince's ear and convinced him that she was worth all that. And that is why then when Triple H took over and she wanted the money to come back in, I think Vince would have let her come back in for the money she asked for. Whereas I think Triple H and his group were sort of like, we can spend that money on 3 other talents that we can make worth more than that money in the long run. Or we can bring you in and you stale bread.
We already have a cabinet full of talent that we will happily take your spot for far less money.
Right.
And they've done it even better. And you know, they can cut a promo.
Yeah, that's important. There you go. Look, Adam on cue.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you know, you don't like when Rhea Ripley comes down, we don't have to pipe in people cheering for her as she comes to the ring.
It's so good that they put the CEO into the music, so they just can just let it keep going.
Somebody had to go at me, so I said it's embarrassing when she comes out and goes, see, and they did a chant thing. I'm like, it's because you recorded that audio on the second week because nobody the first week she came out chanted it at all, even though it was written on the script. It may have been one of those sing-along videos you got as a kid where the ball bounces on the word to make you sing it, and still nobody would sing along with it.
Will Shane McMahon save AEW?
No.
No. And then we'll tap out and call it a night because we've gone a little long. But
if Shane does anything with AEW, I will say, I don't think it's got anything to do with wrestling whatsoever. At the end of the day, Shane McMahon owns a streaming company in China that's now gotten into Indonesia and Taiwan as well. That's like Netflix. It's not a coincidence. The same time that WWE announces a Netflix deal, that suddenly Shane McMahon is being mentioned in the same breath as AEW. Yeah. So I think he just wants to get AEW, if there's any truth with it, onto his network so he can say, "I'm offering you American wrestling on our network. We're the only place you can get it, so you can pay whatever amount it is to join us and watch all these random films and that we've added in from China. But you can also watch some wrestling from the other side of the world because I think, especially the three particular countries they've gotten into are countries that struggle to get hold of WWE wrestling because there's a lot of licensing laws over there, etc., that limits what they can do. That's why they don't have like the network or anything there.
Yeah.
So he's not. I think he's been smart enough to go, well, they can't get WWE there, but I can get them AEW, and it's just printing money if you do that. That's the only reason I can see it coming in, because I swear if I see Shane McMahon turn up in an AEW arena, I hope he trips on the ramp and rips his quads like his dad and just rolls to the bottom. And whoever's in the ring gets out and just beats on him for 10 minutes for being so stupid for doing it in the first place.
I want to see it. I want to see it. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, I think for me, like I don't care. I think the reason why I don't care is because I really don't care about AEW. That I think that's kind of that's where my mindset is. It's like if Shane McMahon was about to do something with TNA, regardless of what they're doing with WWE, I would probably be excited because I watch TNA every week. I actually, at this point, and I said this to one of my coworkers earlier this week, we were talking about AEW. I was like, at this point, I really only watch AEW because of the Wrestling for Life Network, and I know we have to get on here and talk about it.
Hear that?
Other than that, if I wasn't a part of this channel, I would not be watching AEW. Period. So Shane McMahon being
Tony, you can say thank you. We're bringing in viewers for you.
We are. Shane McMahon coming to
finally AEW has some PR.
Like, that's nothing for me. Don't care. I don't know. I don't really care.
I would say, sorry. Things about people forgetting Shane McMahon is still a 7% owner in WWE. Why would he then go onto his competition show and get people to come out of WWE programming and go and watch AEW? He's literally taking money out of his own pocket to do it.
To put it back into his pocket, because here comes the money.
Yes, it's literally like, don't shop in my shop, buy from that shop, because they'll give me 50p back, or they'll give me $1 back for every 10. It would just be stupid. Whereas here, he's got his WWE shares that he makes money off the Netflix deal from, and if he gets them on his streaming channel, he's then making money off AEW as well, which literally is probably the most McMahon move physically possible. It's like watching Vince McMahon stare at the territories in the 90s and go,
oh. He's just a dude from they always use on the meme behind the stream.
It's like, your dad agreed not to buy the territories. You're correct. He did.
Right. But the name on the contract does say McMahon. But it does say Shane McMahon.
Shane McMahon.
But
go ahead, Nick.
No, go ahead.
You for my money, though, just for the sheer entertainment value of Shane showing up in AEW and people's heads exploding and what chaos, if it would work. Imagine, all the issues you have with like Punk and Cody. Imagine Shane gets in there, and Shane's known to have a bit of an ego and a bravado. And it's like, a honeymoon phase will be lovely for about 2-3 months. And then it will just implode, and we'll get more entertainment, more stories, more backstage. Like, I'm all for this if they could pull it off. Do I absolutely think it's happening? No. I don't even think it was like a formal meeting. I think they just were in the same place or whatever. But
who took the picture? This is like the fucking Zapruder film of who took the picture.
Mercedes
It was, Patton Oswalt on the grassy knoll.
right.
Who took the shot?
Mercedes took credit.
Well, she'd take credit for anything in that goddamn company. She's a fucking clout vacuum. So
I thought I was saying, if you get Shane tied up in an AEW ring, he's going to beat up the Elite by himself, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's what others.
He's going to be like, just don't hit me in the quads.
That's right.
My fear is so bad. Yeah, they'd have Shane jumping off like the top of the Titantron by the end of the first month, like on a random collision.
Oh, just Shane McMahon and a stadium stampede or a blood and guts is a fucking nightmare.
Shane off a cage. Here we go.
You can look forward to being Shane. We're really grateful you're here. It's one of the biggest things we've ever had. So what we've done, we put you on the second match tonight.
Mhm.
You're not going to go over either. And also you need to be done by the second hour if you do a flow over, because Mercedes is going to come out and cut a promo that nobody gives a crap about. But if we leave it any later than that, people have already tuned out by then and we're down to 5,000 views. So if you can kind of balance it in.
I think that there's, though, an interesting aspect to this of, I know that it was just literally just probably met in an airport, what have you, of just, hey, Shane, my boss would like to talk to you. And it's more of, he's marking out, like we even talked about it, like Tony's the only one who looked prepared for that picture to be taken in that moment. Right. Huh? But
it's like that, what a shock.
Right. I'm so surprised. But I think that the idea of, especially now, looking into this of the exclusivity deal between Warner and AEW's passed. So now we can go with anybody and everybody as to what can they air AEW. And now if you start pitching around people of, I could have a McMahon, a Shane McMahon, who's not in allegations and what have you, but still a McMahon, behind it, shows up on screen, all of that could be, they do, the dueling power authorities, what have you, anything like that. Of even if you do Shane just as, an actual consultant or anything, of he at least might be somebody who could provide some form of guidance, because we at least need like the little kid like bumpers when you're blowing at the bowling alley for Tony Khan here. We need at least some sort of buffer. So I think this would be a good play, at least as far as getting some sort of a media rights deal, maybe garnering some buzz and attraction. Like, you're going to have Shane McMahon show up on AEW. You don't think that that's going to at least get some clicks?
Oh,
it'll get clicks for 1 week. Oh, we'll boost the
But
rating.
that's I give it credit. That's on them to maintain it.
That's it.
I think
at least I'd rather take the shot than not take the shot.
So I think there's one way they could actually make Shane's story interesting for a few weeks at least. If he's going to do anything, put him in the ring opposite Christian, because the pot that Christian would take at him about his dad.
Right. Does Shane even need to be an in-ring person, or does he just need to be backstage? What have you? Could he be like, a backstage consultant? What have you?
In my head, all I really want to hear that is Christian go, "Don't worry, I can be your dad." Except the one that people aren't watching outside of the ring.
Right. So honestly, we have no idea what the conversation was at all. It could have simply been an exchange of like, pleasantries, and like Shane could have walked away, been like, "That's great." We have no idea what the whole dynamic was. It's fun to speculate.
Oh yeah, I'm fantasy booking. Yeah.
Right. I can't imagine it happening, but I'm all for the chaos. Chaos is good for the business, good for us, good for everybody. So, yeah, I mean, TK versus Shane McMahon, All Out 2025 in a steel cage. Let's go.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably more likely that somebody said to Shane, for example, like, "Oh, Tony Khan's here as well."
Yeah.
He's taking a flight, and he was like, "Oh, that'd be quite cool to meet him, another guy that's big in the business."
Well, the rumor is that Sasha pretty much set it up with Shane of like, "Hey, my boss Tony Khan would really love to talk to you." And they met. I think it was at like Dallas Fort Worth. It's one of like the major U.S. airports that's like big for like crossovers and everything. That they literally were just in like a side room at an airport. That's why Shane just looks surprised as fuck that someone's taking a picture, and Tony's like, "Oh, he looks like the fucking Pampers baby, where like the dog pulling down the diaper and shit." Oh,
I think the reality is, it's just Tony was marking out, and he really, really wanted Shane McMahon's autograph.
I'll autograph your action figure.
Yeah.
Yes, it did hurt when Steve Blackman kendo sticked me and I fell off the SummerSlam sign, bringing it full back the way around to SummerSlam.
On the big show, was that real?
Right.
A quick side note before we tag out and say goodbye, but did you see the story going around that Warner Brothers realized they were worth 9.1 billion less than they had thought? The fudge.
Yeah, imagine breaking that news. Oh, by the way, awkward.
Our quarterlies aren't quite what we expected.
So I have good news and I have bad news. What do you want first?
The good news is
don't want
I've
bad
quit my
news.
job this morning.
I think that was because a lot of the merger with Discovery. I think things kind of tanked when they merged with Discovery. So yeah, I think they kind of went overzealous there.
We're living in a mad age of wrestling. It's just again, like I said, it's just. I think it's the thing as well. That if somebody come to you and said you're worth that much less than you thought, well, you like, right? I need to get this straight. Tony's probably like, oh, if I get somebody else from Japan and put them against Mox next week, I'll make that money back. It's just like. Part of me is like, there must be somebody who's a financial manager that's literally like with a giant whiteboard going, no, Tony, the graph's supposed to go up, not down.
But if I do a handstand, it goes up.
Yeah, it's like the do you ever seen if you've seen it from The Simpsons where he shows the stocks and it's going up, and Krusty goes, "Yay!" And then he's like, "Oh, sorry," and he flips it upside down and he goes, "I had it the wrong way round." And he's like, "Oh,
right, yeah." It was the whole fuck around and find out chart.
Yeah, they must be doing that. Like, oh, Tone doesn't look very happy. Just flip it around. There you go. Look, now it's going up and backwards. I just can't get my head around how you can have a business with that much money and have so little sense about what you're doing. You know,
that's the craziest part. And I think that's the frustration as a fan base for the people that have watched from day one of this product. We invest a lot of time in it. We really support it. We have all the hopium you could hope for. And almost on a weekly basis, especially lately, you go on that roller coaster ride. If you watch me do it on Wednesdays, it's very much of like, we can't wait for it to go. And then it just dies out. But at the end of the day, we know what they have. We know how much talent they have. And that's the disappointing part of like, you could do this better. You're just choosing not to.
Right. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem as well. I know that a lot of people that's created some of the poison in it is I think a lot of us put our faith in AEW when it started. They were the alternative. They're going to give us a whole different approach to wrestling. And it's like people put their trust in that company and then Tony stabbed them all in the back within a year. And people are bitter about that. And there's people that are trying to chase the high of the glory days of AEW when they started. I think for a lot, I'm one of them. I watch it. I'm like, you started off. It was great. You had some great talent brought in. I love the fact that when they started, they brought in a lot of talent that wasn't main event talent in big companies. So you had smaller names being whacked in the spotlight. And it was like, they're finally doing what we've been screaming for Vince to do for years. Develop your damn talent. Don't just pick one or two people and that's it. And then I just think TK betrayed a lot of wrestling fans in general because once he got caught up in his own shtick and wanted to do his own fancy booking and all that, and then you get to, and then like I said, the biggest giveaways for me are when they had guys like Jericho came in. Jericho came in and distinctly said, "I'm looking forward to developing the next generation of wrestling," and then 2 seconds later, it's just, "Oh no, he's got to win every main match." Yeah. CM Punk came in, and it was just so obvious that I think Punk could have jumped up on that table, taken a crap on it, thrown it at Tony, and Tony would have gone, "I'm so blessed." It's just the whole concept behind it. And meanwhile, all this smaller talent that was coming up through the ranks then just suddenly got quashed. And it feels like AEW is a highly produced, highly paid for version of Sunday Night Heat. It's the way it feels when I watch it.
Not
Some
far
there,
off.
but and it's just like I said, as a fan, that's what put me off it so quick.
Right.
It's just like you just spit in the face of everybody who put their faith in you of being the alternative and giving us back old school wrestling that you said about. It's like, because you've just got no direct, and then it suddenly was like, I mean, Tony Khan's made Eric Bischoff look like a genius in wrestling again.
Absolutely.
Andy, going to say that.
Well, Anthony, you were going to say something?
Oh no, I'm good. I think I've talked about AEW enough. So
yeah. Nick, anything added to that part of the convo?
I think I'm good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are going to tap this one out. We appreciate everyone for joining us tonight. Don't forget, we're back tomorrow for SmackDown and Rampage. We got more coming this weekend. We got more content coming. The return of Roman Reigns. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Geekbox. Thank you, Anthony, as always. But yeah, we got more content coming your way. Follow us everywhere. Go get your merch. Go check out all the fun stuff. Be a part of the family. Be a part of the shows. Nick, do you want to do it?
Our shit is real. Our shit is raw. Our shit is authentic. When you're talking about that wrestling, you're able to put that full life with it.
We're coming back tomorrow. See you on the flip side. Good night.